Live from White House Lanes, it's Bowling with Biden.
It's go time!
This man's going to win a lot of political offices.
Now, here's your Bowling with Biden host, Mark Thompson.
Biden's speech was great last night. I was in tears, he says, although I was disappointed that Jim Clyburn didn't scream into the mic and rip his shirt off.
Big shout out.
You mean like Hulk Hogan did? Hey, brother, don't make fun of me, brother. And then somebody taking issue with me, I believe it was probably Randy, of course. It really wasn't a Biden-centric night, Mark, until the last hour or so before Biden spoke. I thought many of those speakers could have gone on tonight. Well, there was a reference to Biden, I thought, throughout the night. So when I say Biden-centric, perhaps you're right. I mischaracterized it that way, but let's face it. He was a keynote speaker, if you want to think of it that way. I'm a Steve Kerr fan, but the night thing was corny and brash, in my opinion, says Doug. Oh, wow. Well, that's what, that's what makes things interesting. While Biden was giving his speech, I was kind of cringing when he appeared feeble, but then I remembered that he's not the candidate anymore.
Yeah.
Let me say something about that. I think that's true. I think that's right. I think if you listened to Biden last night, you saw a guy who was trying to be energetic. He screamed a bunch of the speech. When I say screamed, I mean forcefully projected a lot of the speech. And he did that well. But as Vicky says, there was a cringe factor to the Biden speech, primarily because he reminded you through the speech, in addition to reminding you of his accomplishments, in his delivery, that he's not a good messenger for a lot of the politics of the age. And even this accomplished guy, we've talked about it on this show before, he's had a largely transformative administration, particularly in this intensely partisan political environment. And yet, his ability to speak about what he has done, his ability to talk about various things that need to be spoken of, it's diminished. He is not who he might have been 20 years ago. I like when she mentioned Trump's 34 felony convictions. The crowd yelled, "Lock him up," and she smiled, said Calvin Wong, who's the shadow producer of the show. I actually felt...
That's Hillary he's talking about.
That's Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. I felt in the Hillary moment she could have not... And I don't think she encouraged it, but she did drink it in. It's an awkward thing, but I feel the rancor and anything that's adjacent to the kind of lock him up, stirring the pot of potential political violence or recrimination, it rubs me the wrong way. Maybe I just long for the discourse of the past, which was a little more, everybody was courteous, everybody was a good sport. We don't have that anymore in America. Now it's everybody's a gunslinger, everybody's a mudslinger. Brian Reich says, last night we saw people speaking from their heart. The Republicans spoke from their arse last week. I do think there was less hate in the room. The Republicans, I think the coin of the realm is darkness, hate, and let's get them. I think there was less of that. There wasn't none of that. There was just less of that. Axelrod's take on Hillary's lock him up moment was that she should have put a stop to it. I found that interesting. Yeah, Randy says, I guess I'm not there quite with, I don't know how you put a stop to it, but I do feel as though it made me uncomfortable. Best moment for Biden was when he called out Trump's disrespect for our veterans. James Watson, thank you. I agree completely. I'm going to talk to David K. Johnston about that, even as Trump tries to somehow spin that. He has been a despicable, grotesque candidate and president when it comes to his treatment of veterans and veteran issues and those who have made supreme sacrifices for this country. It's so beyond the pale that I can't believe that this guy has any support from our military. I was in tears with the abortion issue speaker, says Debbie. Yes, they were remarkably powerful. And I'm so glad that not that they wouldn't be included, but that they gave them real time to be included, because this is a cornerstone issue going into this election. And I love, if we speak about women, it's not just women ascending to positions of power, vice presidency, presidency. It's about the issues that affect women, and not just women, but those who care about women. So I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you, Debbie Sanchez, for that.
I loved how they had 3 different, abortion type of situations or reproductive care situations, and all of those speakers had gut-wrenching stories. I thought that was a really powerful moment as well. I mean, a lot of it was kind of emotional. The whole night was emotional.
Yeah, agreed. Tony, you've got a wrap package on it. Is that what you have? This is from GMA. Here's a little something, kind of a summary of the night, although we've obviously summarized it a bit. Here's some sound bites and your favorite morning team or whatever from GMA. Go ahead, George. And
Democratic National Convention started last night. President Biden took the stage in Chicago just before midnight, passed the torch to Vice President Kamala Harris, calling her tough, experienced, with enormous integrity. He also warned of the danger posed by Donald Trump, saying that democracy must be preserved.
We have team coverage from Chicago this morning. Our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, she made it to Chicago. She's there on the convention floor and starts us off. Good morning to you, Mary.
Good morning, Robin. Well, this was a jam-packed and emotional first night. The president speaking for nearly an hour, going well past midnight. And in many ways, this was his swan song. The president touting and defending his record and making a forceful case for Kamala Harris to carry his legacy forward.
By the way, stop this for a second, Tony, and then we'll hear this. I do feel as though there was a fork in the road here for Joe Biden. It was really make the case for Kamala Harris, and or really make the case for the job you've done, which, as I say, is not only respectable. I mean, you could argue that it's transformative. You really, to get this legislation through, like the infrastructure package, was quite impressive. I mean, now the negotiation around drug pricing, at least for a handful or a couple of handfuls of prescription medications for Medicare. I was divided. Like, I thought, if I were Joe Biden, knowing that that's the audience I have, I might tout those accomplishments as well. But you could also say you're there to try to whip up additional enthusiasm about Kamala Harris. I thought he split that baby pretty well. But anyway, go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
Overnight, a teary-eyed Joe Biden taking the convention stage to a rousing standing ovation over 4 minutes long. The crowd chanting, "Thank you, Joe."
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
The president passing the torch to his vice president, Kamala Harris. They're watching on.
Selecting Kamala was the very first decision I made when I became our nominee. And it was the best decision I made my whole career.
It was not the address he had expected to give. The president speaking on the first night of what just a month ago he thought would be his convention.
It's been the honor of my lifetime to serve as your president. I love the job, but I love my country more.
The president ticking through his accomplishments, but arguing it's Harris, not him, who's now best suited to finish the job.
I promise I'll be the best volunteer Harrison Walsh has ever seen.
I thought that was a good
Harris
line.
making a surprise appearance on the stage earlier in the night and praising Biden.
Joe, thank you for your historic leadership, for your lifetime of service to our nation, and for all you will continue to do. We are forever grateful to you. Thank you, Joe.
The vice president, now the second woman to lead a major party's ticket. The first, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, now also passing the torch.
Something is happening in America. You can feel it.
Clinton noting Harris could now be the one to finally break that glass ceiling.
This is our time, America. This is when we stand up. This is when we break through. The future is here. It's in our grasp. Let's go win it.
but the last word belonging to Biden. The president eager to cement his legacy and deliver the White House to Harris.
Let me know in my heart when my days are through, America, America, I gave my best to you.
The party's past and future embracing on the stage. Harris appearing to tell Biden, I love you so much.
Harris now heads to Milwaukee for a rally there tonight alongside her running mate Tim Walz. While back here on the convention floor tonight, the big headliners, the Obamas, the former president and Michelle Obama both delivering remarks. Then Wednesday is Walz's night before Harris's big moment on Thursday.
Thank you, Tony. I think that
got me again.
Yeah, there were a lot of there were a lot of very emotional moments in that evening, especially if your politics and your vision of America is reflected in a lot of what you saw last night. I see Gordon says, thank you for the super sticker, Gordon, for the 10 spot. Appreciate that.
Big shout out.
Isn't Trump going to be sentenced next month? So saying lock him up is appropriate. I don't know if it's appropriate. I mean, it just, again, it's one of those chants that it comes out of the lock her up thing, which I thought was so, it was so, I want to say rude, but that's the wrong word. It's just
outrageous.
Thank you. I mean, it was about the email claims and about, this is a guy who,
ugly. It was ugly.
Thank you. That's a much better word. So, and anyway,
Kim, how are you?
Anyway, the deal is that they're shouting a lot of things, and obviously that's become a chorus in America now. The lock, fill in the blank up, lock him up, lock her up, lock them up.
Yeah.
So maybe you're right. Maybe it's okay. Now, what happened at CNN last night? I guess there was a.
I wasn't watching CNN. I was on ABC.
Bakari Sellers rejecting a report that the Democratic National Convention committed a cardinal sin by pushing President Biden's speech back so late because of scheduling delays. Peter Baker saying, he's the New York Times guy, the Democrats jumbled their homage plan with a slate of speeches that went so long that Mr. Biden was pushed out of prime time. This is what I was saying before.
Yeah.
Democrats were so far behind schedule that they had to scrap a video tribute to the outgoing president. But CNN dismissed the report and blasted Baker. It's weird to me that people who are so smart and so good at their jobs just mess up so glaringly. That's what Bakari Sellers said. Peter misses the simple fact that these speeches live online forever. There are clips that are playing on social media and TikTok, he said. They're not traditional means and methods by which people consume these speeches anymore. Just because you give a speech at 11:30 does not mean it does not mean, then he goes, this is not 1940 where people have to gather around the radio, Peter, and actually listen to it. Well, this is what I was saying at the beginning of the show, that these things have a virality. They get played in the punditry verse, and some of us take them in real time, but most people probably do not.
I ding you for virality.
Oh, thank you. I'll take it. I do think that you want to try to produce a show where you can get everybody in that you intended to get in. Yeah. If you're bumping James Taylor, I think they bumped Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I mean, these are. Now you can tell me Debbie Wasserman Schultz is no big loss to bump. Okay, we can argue over who was bumped appropriately and not. But when you have to start bumping people, it just speaks to the fact that maybe you've packed 10 pounds into a 5-pound bag. That's all I'd say. But it happens. And as I say, of all people, am quite sympathetic to that.
It shouldn't have happened to President Biden because we know that when he speaks, he's better earlier, right? He said that. He's like, when I'm tired, when it gets late, I start, stuttering a little more, whatever, what have you. So they shouldn't have done that to him.
Well, we couldn't start with the Blue Plate special at 5 o'clock, Kim. We had to, he's got to cap the night. So he's got to stay up late. So I don't know. I thought that, will they run on time tonight, Mr. Predicto? Will the Democrats run on time?
Yes, without question.
Mr. Predicto says they will run on time tonight.
Nice. I don't think I've ever heard him say like a definitive yes.
I don't think I have either.
Wow.
He's really.
I didn't know he had it in him.
Mr. Predicto is very, very sure of himself. I thought Raphael Warnock was brilliant. Thank you, Julie. He was brilliant. Wow, you talk about a guy who's an orator, who made powerful comments, and it was spot on. I thought Raphael Warnock was great. And I thought the Kamala Harris friend and her mother who
they
came
were cute.
up, they were brilliant. I mean, really brilliant. And I really felt that there's something there that cut through, and it was along the lines of Kamala Harris has lived it. She comes from the middle class. I think they said it, from the middle class to the middle class, meaning she is someone, and I'm mangling perhaps a bit of what they said, but they made the point that she comes from the middle class and now wants to take care of the middle class. I think that is a really powerful message, especially playing up against the Republicans. They play themselves as popular. And again, when I say Republicans, I'm talking about the Trump MAGA party. Please, those of you who are registered GOP, don't get your backs up. I'm talking about the MAGA Republicans who play to a populism that was really successful in 2016. But it's not reflective of who Trump is. Trump hasn't been to a grocery store maybe ever, and he certainly isn't someone who has any connection to the middle class apart from his rallies and chants and selling merch to them and selling his NFTs to them and selling his Bibles to them and selling his other stuff. He could care less about the middle class. Look at the tax cuts. They affect the wealthiest individuals and benefit the wealthy most completely. Look at what he said to Elon Musk, where he applauded Elon Musk for getting rid of those workers who were attempting to unionize at the Tesla plant. So Kamala Harris, to the degree that she comes from the middle class and is speaking to the middle class, I think that's a message that does resonate better. Trump is no Republican, says Agoff. Well, he's the new Republican Party. Trump is trying to tell people it's bad for Harris to laugh. That is, that's a weird thing. Well, he's not a big laugher, so it's probably bad for anybody to laugh when they. He likes laughing at things. Anyway, we divert. That is your Bowling with Biden.
That's all for this edition.
There's your new leader.
But join us again next time for Bowling with Biden.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.